Sometimes you encounter a character that leaves you so dumbfounded that you can't but think they've gotta have the Idiot Savant perk. You can question their methods, you can even question their results, but somehow it just works. And so, can you eat Fallout New Vegas as Maximus? A tickle to the brain and a weird dream later, and the courier now believes to be Maximus from the Fallout TV show. The stats we'll be working with were taken from Maximus' character in Fallout Shelter, and they are 7 in Strength and Agility, 6 in Perception and Endurance, 5 in Charisma and Luck, and 4 in Intelligence.
Yeah, that's a pretty standard score there, but after what you've been through, I'd say that's great news.
The tagged skills I went with were guns and an arm due to his training, and science, because I didn't know what to choose. Though I could make a case for repair, but honestly that's about it. As for the traits, I went with Hot-Blooded and Kamikaze. Hoarder was on my mind, but that was more of a show's gag than a reflection of his personality. Now, in terms of weapons and apparel, he's only seen wearing Brotherhood attire and using a semi-auto pistol. But in terms of personality, Maximus is completely blindly in love with the Brotherhood. I also don't know enough about guns to know what's a semi-auto pistol and what isn't, and I'm not gonna do Honest Hearts to get one. I also don't feel like installing mods. So, my rule is simple. If the New Vegas Brotherhood chapter uses it, or wears it, then so can I. And that means energy weapons are on the menu. However, I never seen Maximus use one, so leveling up the energy weapon skill is something that I cannot do. Or melee, or throwables, you get the logic. And to spice things up a bit, I've also decided that I cannot pickpocket or steal items unless I can justify it by doing it for the Brotherhood. Mostly all that means is I won't be stealing anything in Good Springs, and I've got a couple jokes for later. In fact, and instead of trying to think, has Maximus done this in the TV show? I'm gonna replace that question with, does this fit both Maximus' personality and this Brotherhood's chapter? Cause let's face it, Season 2 will happen and I'm getting the feeling that he's being set up to be somewhat of an antagonist. Well, for the first half of Season 2 that is, with his ideals and beliefs being put to the test before he inevitably joins Lucy and the Ghoul again, so they can all go on their merry way after the Enclave. But let's stop speculating. I took the supplies Doc Mitchell allowed me to have and equipped my clothing since none of it's Brotherhood. Met Victor and Sunny. She gave me a Locksmith's Reader magazine and some bobby pins and challenged me to open the schoolhouse's safe. On my way, I got all the magazines I could find, cleared the schoolhouse with a laser pistol I found in the doctor's home, and got that sweet stealth boy. I also made sure to get all the town's loot I could that wasn't considered stealing. Then, I sold everything I didn't need to Chet, got me a shovel, and went to the town's cemetery where I found a couple guns to sell later, some ammo, a snow globe, and a clue about the man that shot us that was entirely made out of butts. Good Springs has nothing else to offer us, so I set on my journey to the Hidden Valley. I pass through Gene skydiving where I find the 3rd star cap and get some more goodies, and make my way to Sloan, where Chomps warns us about the Death Claws up north. I heed his advice, visit Snuffles for good luck, though I cannot do anything about her leg on this one. And then I decide to take a jog between rad scorpions. No need to waste my extremely limited ammo as they simply don't catch up to you. And then I go towards Black Mountain to say both hi to the saddest slugs in the whole franchise, say hello to Mo, and to find a couple of Brotherhood of Steel paladins. I took their T-51 power armor, even though I'll need power armor training to be able to use it. Also took their ammo and found a mission holotape that contained the password to gain entry in the Hidden Valley bunker. The better part of Valor.
Stay where you are. I'm sending someone up to meet you.
A paladin comes up, tells me it's his lifelong dream to item sit everything I owned at least once. So, in my underwear, I go on to meet Paladin Ramos. He wanted to know how I learned the password, and I wanted to know how 2 paladins were unable to outrun centaurs. But apparently I don't have a need to know. He then tells me that Elder McNamara wants to meet us. Oh, and that I don't have a choice. That they'll kill me if I don't. Little does he know that this is all I ever wanted. The Elder goes on to inquire me about the dead paladins I found, and even though they're uncomfortable with an outsider knowing their location, they're also interested in contracting someone to lend them a hand. I'm then tasked with driving off an NCR ranger that has set a post in one of the other bunkers. Not as a free man, but with an explosive collar around my neck that allows them to hear any conversations I have, so they can know whether I'm capable and dependable or disposable. And once outside,
hello there. It's good to see a friendly face.
Malcolm Holmes shows up to rant about he likes to stalk people he sees pick up star caps. Tells us to be wary of an Alan Marks, but I'm not afraid of ghosts, so I ignore him and go on to meet Dobson, the NCR Ranger. Dobson, he talks too much. Not literally, but he gave away a great way to drive him off.
I haven't been able to get my radio working, and a safe house is no good without one.
In the bunker he's been using, we can simply smash the radio. No skill requirement for that. Back to McNamara.
Why did he leave? And what makes you think he won't be back?
He won't be back because he now has no way to report anything to his higher-ups.
I see.
The Elder then takes off her explosive collar, allows us free access to the bunker whenever, and wants us to stop by the command center to further discuss other pressing issues. Now that I can roam, I can start doing some Maximus shenanigans. Remember when I said I was allowed to steal stuff for the Brotherhood? Well, isn't it in the Brotherhood's best interest that I have plenty of ammo? It is, so I looted all their footlockers. Maximus had no issue taking the T-60 from Knight Titus, and I have no problem in furthering this chapter's ambitions through, well, myself, not being ill-equipped. I didn't find a single piece of apparel I can wear. And that's when I realized it was gonna be a while before I could wear anything, and by anything I mean power armor. Then I went on to meet everybody. Schuller is the medic. The paladin that babysits the shooting range tells me I can use it provided I'm using my own weapons and ammo. So that's completely pointless. Knight Taurus tells me I can't buy a single thing. Yet. And Ibsen has been dealing with a computer virus. This minigame is silly. First, you've got to wait for Ibsen to tell you the virus has jumped. Then you have 60 seconds to pray for good RNG and find the 3 random computers where it has jumped to. And then you isolate the virus. Thrice. 5 or 6 attempts later and I got it. Our reward? Access to their data store. But it's just lore. That doesn't matter right now. I also got to meet Lorenzo, who fixes whatever's broken. And then there's Apprentice Watkins and Taggart, who are just there, I guess. Hardin wouldn't speak to me, and his bedroom's filled with goodies. That we'll have to come back later for. I won't be using that super sledge though, I'll just be selling it. It's the plasma rifle and the extra power armors I'm really interested in. Back to McNamara, and this time he asks for help. Just asks. We can refuse, but obviously I cannot do that. And so he gives us our next task, which is to find 3 patrol teams that have gone missing recently. He also tells us more about the current bunker's lockdown that he is enforcing, which does explain why an outsider might be useful to them right now. Oh, and we can now buy crappy equipment from Torres, and I mean that because the good stuff will only be available after we become a member. So, I went back to Hardin's bedroom, grabbed everything and used the repair to fuse together the equipment so I can move like a normal human being again. When I was going back, Hardin interrupts me, but it has nothing to do with my newly acquired tech. This is actually about how he blames McNamara for the current state of the Brotherhood. He's against the lockdown, and if he could, he would dismiss the Elder, and promote himself to that status. He also thinks that we are in a perfect position to help him do just that, and then directs us to Ramos so we can learn more about the situation ourselves. Ramos, though, he sees right through our questions, knows that Hardin has spoken to us, and bluntly tells us that McNamara is the reason they even survived leaving Helios 1 behind, after the confrontation with the NCR and the desertion of Father Elijah. After all is said and done, we are allowed access to more information in the data store. This time about Elder dismissal incidents. One entry in particular shows a precedent of an Elder being dismissed for going against something called the chain that binds. Back to Ramos, and he explains to us that the chain that binds is an old principle that pretty much means you have to obey a superior officer. He then gives us access to that particular data store entry, and here's where we learn that there's more to it, and I quote, "Orders are to observe the flow and not skip ranks. A superior may only give orders to his direct subordinates, and not to those beneath them. And while this is pretty stupid and exclusive to New Vegas, this is something that McNamara has done. He skipped ranks before. But the question now becomes, would Maximus partake in dismissing a Brotherhood elder? No, I don't think so, because there's a big difference between letting Titus die and going solo for the mission's purpose. Even if it meant disobeying orders and the blind faith he has in the Brotherhood as a whole. And sure, he has no issue lying to Quintus in the TV show as the plot unfolded, but only for the mission he was given and to lend Lucy a hand, which also intertwines with the mission. So, not only does he idiot savants the whole thing into putting Cold Fusion in the Brotherhood's hands, he also becomes what I assume to be Quintus's second in command. And hey, it would be so much easier for me to side with Hardin, cause I would get power armor way earlier. And the quest Still in the Dark is ridiculously long. I can't justify Maximus dismissing an elder though, so that set off the question. This is also the perfect time to discuss how we can actually influence the Brotherhood in the game's endings. You see, there are 5 different slides, only one of which will dictate what happened to the Brotherhood. The first 3 are: if you destroy the bunker, if you kill everyone while leaving the bunker intact, or if you sign a truce with the NCR and finish the game with them. So yeah, none of those make any sense for us. The 4th option is if you sign a truce with the NCR but finish the game with Yes Man without activating the Securitron army. And the 5th is for literally everything else. So, if you don't complete Still in the Dark, or if you side with Hardin, or if you side with Yes Man without activating the Securitron army. At this point of the run, I had an idea of the route I wanted to take, but you'll see. Anyways, speaking of routes, I made my way up north, passed through Neil's shack, jumped a certain rock that lets me skip the death claws, went through the NCR Ranger safe house, and made my way to the 188 trading outpost where we got to meet Veronica.
Good then.
To learn more about the Brotherhood and which ending we should go for, I decided to have her tag along, cause her companion quest is all about the Brotherhood. From there, we go north until we reach the coordinates for the second patrol team that's missing. The first ones being the ones we found near the Centaurs. In Repcon's headquarters, a Mr. Handy gave us a free tour, at the end of which we find Jenny Millet's security keycard. In the second floor, another robot mistakes us for Jenny Millet, and we can safely go to the 3rd floor, where the patrol team had a really bad day. I get their holotape, and the warning to leave within 30 seconds if I'd like to keep on breathing. So we leave Repcon and continue our journey, passing through Cassidy Caravan Wreckage, the NCR Sharecropper Farms, and I got Camp McCarran's map marker too, cause it's useful for later. Level 2 came around, speech or energy weapons do not fit Maximus, so I chose Science! Don't think about it, we're gonna need a certain science level to pass a skill check later. As for the perk, I went with Rapid Reload, cause we are trained. I then sold some stuff to the Gunrunner's Vendortron and went on to Freeside, more specifically, the Old Mormon Fort. Cause to trigger Veronica's quest, she needs to react to 3 things. And whilst there are options for which those 3 things are gonna be, I made sure we got an early start. The dialogue with Julie Farkas will be our first trigger.
You can't help but notice that the Brotherhood barely exists to these people out here.
Then I made my way to the Silver Rush. We see what happens when people try to scam them, and Gloria's our second trigger.
You know, I've been thinking. The real problem with the Brotherhood is that we isolate ourselves.
The 3rd trigger will come pretty much at the same time as the 3rd patrol, since both are in Ellis with the Boomers. On our way there, a couple raw hamburgers try to invert the food chain but fail miserably. I stop by Field Shack to grab Abilene to sell it later, and then we meet George, the Boomer that's not part of the Boomers. We make a bet, cause why wouldn't I want to double my money? And sticking to the left hills is pretty much safe passage. Though you might still need a couple steam packs though. Soon as I hear the bombardment stop, I get cocky. I make my way to the patrol team, which wasn't a smart move. So instead, I just go to the gate, where Raquel tells me that Mother Pearl, their elder, wishes to meet us. Veronica has a big head, and the third trigger will be the Boomer Museum Tour.
The Brotherhood is failing. I've always known that. If we don't change course, we're going to fall apart, or fade away.
Now that we won't get blown to smithereens, I can go to the last patrol team and recover their holotape. And to George, cause I like getting my money back. Back to the bunker, and Veronica tries to convince the elder, but he brushes her off. I then report my mission to him, give him the holotapes, and he tells me about the scouts he sent alongside the patrol teams. But at least these were tasked with holding position and to be radio silent for the time being as they, well, scout stuff from a distance. He tells me to ask them if the bears are still hunting once I found them, so they know that he sent us. As we're leaving, Veronica interjects.
I'd slap him around, but he stood at my parents' wedding. He means well.
She then goes on to complain that the Brotherhood strategy worked when they had more members and no organized enemies, and that they're pretty much a shadow of their former selves as a group that won't even take in new members. She wants that to change, and thinks that finding a piece of technology would prove to the Elder that they could do so much more. And she's got no idea what kind of technology, but the previous Elder, Father Elijah, might have some notes somewhere on tech that could help move McNamara in a different direction. As we're leaving, a couple paladins are really jealous that McDaddy didn't hug them enough growing up. And that an outsider and Veronica are taking their ovation away from them.
Veronica has always twisted the Founder's principles to her own ends.
I then went on to check if Knight Torres had anything useful, but it's either too meaningless or too expensive. They had combat armor, but I'm only allowing this courier to dress in Brotherhood attire. No exceptions. And the first scout is just by the NCR Correctional Facility, pretty close to where Dobson was.
The facility was run by the NCR for a time, but the prisoners overcame their guards and now use the prison as a base from which to conduct raids.
Going through the El Dorado gas and service and eventually reaching the second scouts.
One belongs to the NCR, the other to a band of slavers known as Caesar's Legion. I was sure the NCR would quickly win, but that is not happening.
We are starting to see a pattern here, the NCR simply not being as strong as the Brotherhood thinks them to be. I then do a quick detour to Boulder City and meet with Private Kowalski. Unfortunately for me, pissing him off is not on today's menu. Lieutenant Monroe tells us about the situation they have with the Khans and some NCR hostages. The same Khans that aided Benny back in Good Springs. I confront Jessup, and that's enough to trigger levels 3 and 4. I put science to 60, which will be useful later, and start putting points into guns. Even though I'm not planning on using guns. Why? I don't know, but I did it on purpose. As for the perk, I went with educated so I can have even more useless skill points in the future. And not having enough speech leaves me on a stalemate, so I do as Maximus did with the chicken lava. I act rashly. Let's free yourselves some hostages and then run. The NCR takes quick care of the Khans, but Jessup is still holed up in that building. A quick in and out has him and his buddy following us, and the NCR finishes them off for us. I get Benny's lighter and all feels right in the Mojave. And I wasn't planning on this next bit, but since I'm here, might as well go to Hoover Dam and grab the snow globe. Cause I changed my mind, and now I want to try and buy some goodies off of Knight Torres before the second battle of Hoover Dam. So, it's just best to start planning that now. As such, I revisit the boomers and the followers of the apocalypse for the same reason, and then I make my way to the strip. A thug tries to ambush me, but Veronica power fists him to oblivion so hard that even Merun's Dagon said, "Damn!" Old Ben tells us not to go past the Securitrons without talking to them. I pass the cap check and see what would have been if I ignore them. But my goal here was simply to pass the cap check. That way, if I need to buy stim packs or ammo later, I don't have to worry about my caps. So back to Gene skydiving, cause the third scout is between Prim and Nipton. And I just kept on going. Didn't even cross Prim's bridge, fought some jackals, level 5 came around, and I met the scout.
My observations have mostly focused on the small town to the south of here. It was cruelly attacked, its inhabitants slain nearly to the last. That such an act could occur so far west is nearly unthinkable. The NCR has forces in all directions, and an outpost scant miles west from here.
Approaching Nipton, and Thomas and Jacqueline are fighting because she thought it would be smart to try and backstab a guy with better gear for his Star Cops. Thomas, he won. I got the spoils, and who won the lottery?
Yeah! Who won the lottery? I did!
Vulpes then goes on about his hobby of turning degenerates into Jesus cosplayers, and that he would really appreciate it if I could tell the NCR what happened here, and since that's free XP, I'll oblige. I saw Oliver run towards rat scorpions, I sprinted through Thomas, fought some more jackals, and reached the Mojave outpost where Sergeant Kilborn is in disbelief that the NCR seems to be in shambles, which is pretty funny to me since every other faction in the game already knows that. I then went back to the Elder with the 3 scout reports and he tasks me with going up to Senior Knight Lorenzo, cause their air filtration system is in worse condition than their sworn enemies. And here comes the reason why a lot of people don't like this quest. We're gonna have to go to 3 different vaults, gather 1 piece of technology in each so the Brotherhood can keep playing hide and seek. Oh, and we also get to find out that every single team sent to recover that tech had failed and died. So if you're thinking that the Brotherhood Paladins are lolcows, just you wait a bit more. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but by doing Veronica's quest, we'll have 4 paladins quite angry with us. And all I'm willing to say is that maybe if they had sent those 4 idiots instead of the other paladins, maybe, just maybe, those missions would have succeeded and we would have never found a single dead paladin. Speaking of Veronica, time to continue her quest. I pulverized a couple Vipers along the way, we passed through Helios 1 and finally reached Gibson's shack, where Father Elijah left behind notes on 3 pieces of technology. We only need 1 and it makes no difference which one we go after, and as such, I've decided to go after the advanced farming technology simply because it's on one of the vaults we have to explore either way. So, to the vaults. The closest one we can go to is Vault 11. Just by the 188. The enemies here are critters, rat scorpions, mantises, and giant rats. This one was a breeze. If anything, the only challenge this vault presents is finding the tech, and even then, there are worse vault layouts. You just gotta swim a bit in a flooded area, but you don't even need the rebreather because the vault's not completely flooded. So, we got the differential pressure controller and left. I also remembered to get the Dorado substation map marker for later and then went on to the next vault. The Fiends one, Vault 3. Me and Veronica took care of the Fiends in its premises, level 6 came around, I took the run and gun perk and thought it would be funny to go into Zap's neon signs. Until I saw the number of enemies in the area that is, so we left. And as we did, since they were aggroed, a couple teleported right to us, cause why wouldn't they? Fortunately, that was only 3 or 4 fiends, and it included Duke. Nice. Turned him into goo and went on to Vault 3, where nothing worked as I intended. First, the girl didn't let me through, and I didn't have enough speech to convince her. That's on me for not remembering to meet Jack and Diane first, I guess. Anyways, they started shooting, I started shooting, Veronica started lubing up her power fist, and we took care of the first floor. And that's when I had a really stupid idea. Hey, let me reload, grab some of the Khan's armor from Boulder City, and see if they would just let me through. So, I did that, and that didn't work. So, now I had to clear up the whole first floor again. Maintenance door area still locked, so I have to go into the living quarters, where a ton of more fiends were waiting for us. We found some hostages, and kept on going until we found one named fiend in this area, defeated him, and got both the prisoner key and the Vault 3 maintenance area one. Rick and his buddies thanked me. We kept on melting fiends, level 7 came around, and Motor Runner didn't care that I shot his mongrels. That dude didn't even move until I shot at him. That was weird. And the only reason I can think of is I wasn't in the same room, okay? Several plasma rifle headshots later and I have failed Abba Dabba Honeymoon, which I might have needed for one of the endings I was planning for, but little did I know. No, we're good, there was only one real option to begin with. But everything in its due time. We got the reverse pulse cleaner and got back out.
I hear you took care of Mono. I could have handled that on my own.
Great, another NCR member being the Lulu. And before going to the last vault, and as me and Veronica were making our way to Red Rock Canyon, Driver Nafai was kind enough to offer his head as a prop, much like Wilzik did in the TV show. I also messed up and used the stealth boy by mistake. But I got the Can's map marker and went back through Finn territory where Veronica was being an absolute goofball.
Hold on. I see something I want to punch.
She says, as I'm waiting her to go and do some punching, as she stands around showcasing a Stephen Hawking-like agility. Couple headshots later, and who shows up? Victor? Huh, this is the encounter that was supposed to happen in Boulder City. I didn't know he would just keep on chasing me until he reached me. Though, to be fair, he only did because I tried waiting to make it day for better lighting. And eventually we reach Vault 22, where I signal to Veronica for her to do her thing so I can preserve some ammo. And looking back, I don't know why I thought the vaults were going to be hard. Sure, Vault 3 was challenging, but 11 and 22 were a breeze. Although navigating 22 was a complete hell. But it always is. Other than that, I just had to find the Overseer's terminal to override the crew quarters section. Fight a family of plants, including a baby plant for the cave door keycard. Ignore the fact that the plant used to be human. And level 8 came around. I put the points into survival cause I thought I would need it for a skill check at the time. I won't. And then I chose the Gunslinger perk. After a lot of meaningless walking around not knowing where to go, I finally managed to find both the research data for Veronica and the last bit of technology that Lorenzo needs to fix the air filtration system. Back in the bunker, and McNamara once again brushes off Veronica's ideas.
High Elder Maxon didn't found us to be botanists, Veronica.
She then asks me what I think she should do, specifically whether or not I think she should stay in the Brotherhood. And obviously, I can't be having Maximus convincing members to leave when all he wants is to join. I then went back to Lorenzo, gave him the technology he wanted, and went back to McNamara to get a pat on the back. Funny enough, after brushing off Veronica and her reasoning, and while listening to me reporting my successful missions up top, now, he thinks, maybe the lockdown was pretty stupid. He gave me a key to the Brotherhood's safe house in case I'm in need of goodies, and level 9 came around. And then we went outside. 4 paladins are big math, and honestly, it doesn't make the slightest sense to me. Oh no, Veronica! You talked to the Elder about what you saw in the surface, and now won't stop rambling about your own thoughts instead of shutting up. Meanwhile, they respect Hardin. He can do that as much as he wishes. Hell, he can even openly talk about wanting to replace the Elder with himself. Before I could leave though, they destroyed me. So, I pulled a New Vegas on them and fast-traveled before engaging them in conversation. I sold some more stuff to the gunrunners, was wondering about how to deal with those paladins after getting more XP, and went on into the strip.
Howdy, partner!
And then Billy Knight came up with a joke I never understood.
I bought my wife a little car here in New Vegas, an Omerta. It has a hood under the hood.
I then started making my way to the Vault 21 gift shop to get me the snow globe, but can't really justify stealing the key for the Brotherhood, so turned back and went into the tops. I passed the first 15 speech check and showed Swank the only 2 clues I had about Benny, cigarette butts and his lighter. And hey, that was enough for him to tell me to investigate Benny's room and see if we can find more concrete evidence. So I did, and a whole yes man rant later, and I tell Swank that I found a reprogrammed Securitron.
Jeez, this is really bad. What are you gonna do?
We then agree to ambush Benny. He sends him to his room, gives me my weapons back, and we go on to confront the big man.
What in the goddamn?
And that's when I realize I have the opportunity to do a Maximus once again. Cause when Benny offers to comp me the presidential, I take it.
I'll be buying a few, just as soon as my legs stop shaking.
Maxi Boy seemed so happy when he had caviar and oysters instead of irradiated water, so I just couldn't bring myself to take this away from him. Although, sure, in this case he's getting fresh fruits and booze, but that's still better than being out in the wastes, never being able to look at the fridge the same way again. Anyways, level 10 came around and I went with the finesse perk. A whole ambush later and Benny thinks the bodyguards won?
Cleaners will knock twice. Make sure they're thorough.
Things got awkward. He told me he decided to skip town, and I dip. Vulpes then shows up to tell me I've got a not-so-secret admirer, which is hard to believe. If Kaiser admires this courier so much, he would know that I could never work with him. Not because he's evil, it's just once the whole wiping out the Brotherhood conversation inevitably happens, something that Mr. House would also inevitably do if I decided to side with him, we'd go nowhere. So, back to Victor, and into the Lucky 38 so we can meet an extremely salty mummy.
The point of my inviting you to visit me here at the Lucky 38 before stomping into the tops on your own was to help you prepare tactically.
I then go on to the cocktail lounge, grab the snow globe, and go back to the penthouse so Jane can hand me 10,000 caps for the ones I've gathered. Upon leaving, an NCR trooper tells me that Ambassador Crocker would love to have a chat with us. Oh, and Emily wants me to bug the Lucky 38. So I had to politely remind her that this isn't a follower's run. Now, the reason I've been leveling up survival is because without Abba Dabba Honeymoon, I would need science, which I already had, but also survival to get the NCR questline to the point where I can get a truce going. But I made a heavy miscalculation. I'd have to go through all of the Boomers, Kings, Khans, and Omerta's quests for a truce, for an ending slide. And meanwhile, Maximus is killing NCR members on sight on the last episode of that TV show. Makes no sense for me to do the whole NCR questline. It would be different if it was just a bit, but it isn't. But yeah, after remembering about the Boomers and the Kings, knowing everything else, I changed my tune real quick. Also, and since I'm here, might as well pay a visit to the White Glove Society and to the Omerta, since we'll need that for Yes Man stuff. And I can't just visit Gamora without visiting the courtyard, where apparently I follow the call of my desires all the way to the arms of Joanna.
You want to make my cock explode now?
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is peak screenwriting, 16 times the punchline. Anyways, and quite understandably, not only did she not want to do that, she wouldn't even accept caps even though it's her job. Can't blame her though. In fact, turning around and leaving is the only appropriate response to that. Now, back to the bunker, and the quartet of douchebags are still by the entrance. We go over their spiel once again, they start shooting again, and this time I'm hoping that the Brotherhood that doesn't hate me will defend me for the 4 paladins that do.
There you are. A few of us wanted to thank you for being such a good friend to the Brotherhood.
You can thank me by helping me against the few that don't want to thank me. Yeah, forget that. We are on our own. Oh, and just when I thought that no paladin had showed up after the second door, that's when one paladin spawns. He was alone though, and I had Veronica backing me up, so we took swift care of him. I then rested on one of the beds to replenish my health and leave. Veronica starts talking as if we're done with her quest, and I'm guessing she's not the best at counting because there's 3 other paladins still mad at us. But before going back out to face the inevitable, I go back to McNamara and ask him to join the Brotherhood. Maybe that'll take care of it. But, well, he tasks me with going to Black Mountain and installing a remote signal transmitter, right in the middle of Nightkin Land. Great. To deal with the other paladins, I just had to repeat the same strategy. Cause they go over the same initial dialogue, so just talk with them until they aggro, go in, hopefully separate them, and snipe them as Veronica punches them. Oh, and guess what? One of them had a ghost rifle. Awesome! I then went on to beat some centaurs. Level 11 came, and I found out that the gate was closed behind a 75 lockpick skill check. Fortunately, that's not an issue, because we can easily snipe the Night King by standing behind the dumpster and timing it correctly. We can also just go around the fence. No clue where the guy that should have a missile launcher is, but I didn't care either. The less combat I have to go through in here, the better. So, I made my way to the storage building and used my 60 science to fix up Rhonda.
Hello! Could you please direct me to Mistress Tabitha?
That's the plan, cause by doing this, we won't have to fight her.
I don't know how to thank you for bringing Rhonda back to me, stranger.
Actually, she kinda does, cause she gives me a key to all the locked loot inside the storage building. I still got Tabitha's room key cause I wasn't sure if I still needed it or not, and I knew where it was. And then went on to the room where I needed to install the tech that McNamara wanted. With that done, the Elder finally recognizes us, Brotherhood of Steel. We are finally a member. He also offers us a really bad set of power armor. Bad because it's in dire need of repairs. But he also trains us, so we're finally able to use it. So, only now am I finally able to wear anything. This took so long, and the difficulty curve just went from 80 to 8. Though wait, I don't want to jinx it for when I'm fighting Linneus with energy weapons without an energy weapons build. But the rest though, oh, we're fine, we're golden until then. Ooh, and as a member of the Brotherhood, Knight Taurus will now sell us better equipment, but pretty sure I saw better things before, and I'm not gonna spend 15k caps on a power fist. And for the first time, I'm finally wearing power armor. I then went on to Doc Mitchell and to Julie Farkas to buy all the steam packs that they have, and to the Silver Rush to browse their energy weapons. That tri-beam laser rifle seems like a nice choice for 7,000 caps, and as a backup for the Ghost rifle, just in case it breaks hella fast or something, since it would be extremely expensive to repair. On my way to Cottonwood Cove, I make a fun discovery due to a brain fart. The NCR and the Brotherhood shoot each other on sight. Okay, note to self, when I go to the Dorado substation, I'll do it in my underwear, not in power armor. Either way, to me, that fight seemed meaningless when I noticed how much I've melted through my ammo, so I ran from the NCR and only used my new rifle against the ghoul troopers that I couldn't avoid. We reached the cove where I got to show a Legion explorer that Baldy sends me jewelry without asking me to wear a skirt. I then told Lucullus to start rowing and went on to meet Kaisar. He tells me of his lifelong dream of feeling the ground shake and tells me I'll be able to decide Benny's fate. You got any preference, Benny?
Yeah. To die in my sleep at a ripe old age after a marathon session of hey-hey with 30 sex-star broads. You'll set that up?
Honestly, fair enough.
Some of the slaves have been spreading stories about the burned man.
In the Securitron vault, I'm one-shotting everything, which is an extremely nice change of pace. 3 blown generators, a level up, and running from a room filled with sentry bots later, and
I felt the ground shake a while ago.
Yup, and now I have to deal with Benny. I can't free him, or the whole Legion attacks us both. And crucifixion doesn't feel right on this one, so an extremely blunt machete it is. Ah, great, now even I'm feeling sorry for him. Right after, I fast traveled to Doc Mitchell because of the radiation I soaked up in both the vaults and Camp Searchlight. He patches me up, and then I remember, I have not yet visited the Brotherhood safe house. No clue why they bother calling it a safe house, the place is right by Deathclaw territory. In the safe house, Paladin Sato introduces himself as a master repairman, which, okay, good for him. Everything's still super expensive to repair, and on a down move, I do take him on his services. Only to find plenty of power armor I could have grabbed and used to repair mine for free. On a more positive note, I also found a free Tesla cannon. I don't much care about the Gatling laser though. In the Lucky 38, the Securitrons are extremely pissed. Obviously on Mr. House's behalf, cause in terms of Securitron army, he doesn't have one anymore. A couple hits on any Securitron and they go down. It all worked out, but meanwhile, my ammo's on its last leg. I then used the platinum chip to get into the control room, invited the cyborg mummy to have a breath of fresh air after 200 years of smelling his own farts. And then I disabled Mr. House's cerebral interface. That ought to have him think about destroying the Brotherhood in his quote-unquote master plan. Level 13 came about, and for once I put the points in something useful. Medicine. And then comes Emily, who I tell to piss off once more. As I'm making my way towards Yes Man, a couple NCR troopers attack me and Veronica, not their smartest moment. Yes Man then agrees to meet me in the Lucky 38, and great, now I'm being attacked by Securitrons too. Though I just had to make a run for it, Yes Man then goes over the Securitron upgrade demonstration. We do get to see some cool explosions, and then I have to remind him, once again, that I never care about Kimball. Well, not when I have the option not to. And it's now time to install the override chip in the Dorado substation. I thought I was being slick and taking off my faction armor, but that's only smart when there's no one inside the substation, and there was. So I re-equipped my power armor, installed the thingy, ran outside, and couldn't fast travel because the outside NCR members figured out what I did. Because I'm wearing power armor and we're insta enemies when I do. But honestly, that's fine because I get to test out the Tesla cannon, which doesn't use microfusion cells, no, it uses electron charge packs. And it was a massive success. Now, time to get some ammo. Cliff Briscoe in Novak had some, which was nice, but repairing the Tesla cannon would have cost me over 13,000 caps. That much wasn't so nice. Oh, and on an ironic turn of events, the Silver Rush only had Tesla cannon ammo for sale. So, I had to put the Brotherhood's best interests in mind. Steal all the microfusion cells that, well, they had on display and run. Cause if I had just spent the ammo fighting them, then what would have been the point to get it to begin with? Back to Yes Man. The plan is to destroy Hoover Dam, since there's no Securiturn army to activate. And lo and behold, the Legion has started making a move. My plan is quite simple. You see, both the NCR and the Legion hate me. However, they also hate each other. So why bother? They're busy. Not just that, I have no backups. So, to the offices where the Ghost Rifle completely annihilated the NCR heavy troopers. I went on to activate the override chip that grants control to Yes Man, pulled the switch that makes the dam's generators explode, and jogged past some more Centurions and got to the Legate's camp where the fun was about to begin. Apparently, the Legion has only now realized that they really hate me, and Veronica was being creative. I don't know what's up, aside from her, for a brief moment. The Praetorian guards were a bit more bulky than I anticipated, though. Oh, and I went from being hated to vilified because of 3 dudes. Okay. Before the news, Veronica asked me if I wanted a cocktail of bad decisions, and I did. Because I didn't allow myself to build a proper weapon build. So, Stimpaks, Psycho, Medics, Steady, Mentats, Buff Out, a hard save, I'm going all in. And if you take a quick look at how much damage I'm doing even when I crit, you can see why. Lanius, he ran mid-fight, we kept on melting through Praetorians till that asshole came back. Took a couple tries. But, as per usual, with some luck and plenty of Stimpaks, it was done. Lanius was down. There was still some Praetorians though, but they were pretty easy to mow down since they were just cowering in corners. That was embarrassing. Also, I decided to take a nap on one of their bedrolls to heal, and here comes the General, Lee Oliver. doing his best with the slowest of walks as he rehearses the speech of teaching us pretty much all of the swear words in the English language. Anyways, the cigar was a lie. Yes Man rounded up 3 other Securitrons to help out. I ran for cover as soon as the fighting begins. Completely miss all my cheap shots, but Veronica and the TVs on wheels took care of it. And so, can you beat Fallout New Vegas' Maximus? Yeah, of course you can. There's even plenty of different ways to do it. And I'd like to give a big shout out to Steve Whittle and to John Walker for their support of the channel, and to you. So, thank you so much for watching, I hope you enjoyed, I hope I'll see you on the next one, and I hope you have a good one. Bye.
And I guess I'll see you around. We accomplished a lot together. It was fun. Take care.